Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita spent part of his day in Greater Lafayette today. And Mr. Rokita, thanks so much for coming in. Have you been keeping up on the Richard Allen case?
We have, in the sense that we represented the Department of Corrections today in the subpoena request from the prosecutor. So we have some tangential relation to it, and then of course if there's any appeal, we'll be involved there.
Are you aware of today's news? The prosecutors say he made multiple confessions while he was up at Westville.
I hadn't followed it exactly today, but the prosecution's very good. And we have full faith and credit in them, and I just know that in the subpoena process that he's going to be staying at the correctional facility and not going back to county jail.
Yeah, and you represented the DOC, so how does that work? What was your office's work?
That's a great question, a good civics question. The Attorney General represents all the state agencies, or nearly all of them, and then we represent all the county prosecutors in terms of any appeals that come about as a result of their motions or even as a result of the final verdict. So, and the reason for that is because state criminal law needs to be uniform, especially at the appellate stage where precedents are set. So you don't want one county's prosecutor deciding something one way on appeal by the way he or she argues, and another county arguing the same issue a different way. So it all has to kind of come together, and it's my job as Attorney General, with the help of some great Deputy Attorneys General in a pretty large division of our office called Criminal Appeals, to make sure all that's synthesized.
So what work would you have done in the DOC representation for the Delphi case?
Right, so the Department of Corrections is a state agency, and they were subpoenaed, I believe, by the prosecutor for their testimony, and they deserve representation in that process just like everyone else who would get a subpoena. And so we represented them. It wasn't necessarily a heavy lift, but we wanted to make sure they were prepared for the kind of questions they were going to get, that they had the information that both parties would want, and it went well.
So what do you make of the case in general against Richard Allen?
Well, I'll tell you, I've been following this case ever since I was the congressional representative from this area, and it's just so heartbreaking as a father to keep rehashing that story. And I know the people of this community and myself, we've been waiting so long for justice to be served. Still, this isn't necessarily a slam dunk case in that respect. The evidence is circumstantial. I want to see justice done, and I want to see it done to the right person. And this is not the easiest case to prove in that respect. Also, I remember that I have a reward out that I'd like to see the state police make sure, if there is a conviction here, it gets out to the right people. So, I mean, back from when I was in Congress, there was, I think, a $25,000 award that I was part of.
So who would get that in this case?
We'll have to wait and see how that works out, but it's for the person that helped us get the evidence. That made a conviction. Yesterday,
your office supported or opposed efforts to ban on gender-affirming care. What was your office's argument in that?
Well, we had a preliminary hearing. So there was a preliminary injunction filed by the ACLU regarding a state law that was passed that prohibits gender-changing surgeries to minors, and prohibits gender hormonal care to minors. So this is a state law, and my duty as Attorney General is to defend the state laws in court. So I think under that law, it was a record. We were sued within an hour of that law passing by the ACLU, and we had the arguments in federal court yesterday on the preliminary injunction. That is, should the law be stayed? Should it be stopped while a full court hearing on that occurs? And I think it was, frankly, it was a harder argument not based on anything our attorneys did or didn't do. I think there were excellent arguments, frankly, on both sides. Our attorneys did a great job, but there's this Seventh Circuit up in Chicago. We're part of the Seventh Circuit, and there's some pretty controlling law already on the books with regard to not this particular issue, but similar issues. Bathroom cases, some other things, and we think that law it was stuck in the judge's mind, and so we'll have to see how it plays out.
Your your office is pretty favored target of the ACLU. It's not.
We're on a first name basis.
Yeah, they've also sued you over not only gender affirming care, but the pronoun bill.
Yeah, the pronoun bill, and also there was a lawsuit this week where teachers are involved, where they are required under New India law that if there's sensitive topics, sexuality topics, brought up by their students, and the students being kindergarten through third grade, so these are little kids, that the parents need to be notified.
A teacher in that lawsuit contends that she is a 1 through 3 teacher, has some books that are age appropriate on historical figures, including Elton John.
Is he a historical figure already?
Well, he's pretty old.
Still alive.
Yeah.
But fair enough.
Harvey Milk being another one.
Fair.
Okay.
The problem there is that parents are in charge of their kids, and it's appropriate. I mean, I know as a parent, if I had a son or daughter that age, and that little boy or girl went to a teacher and said, "Hey, tell me about sex, tell me about these things," I would want to know. And I think it's completely reasonable and appropriate for a teacher at that point to say, "You know what, Johnny, you should go talk to your parents about that." And then as soon as class is over, call the parent and say, "Johnny's going to come home today, and this is a question he had for me. I asked him to bring it up with you." That's how that relationship should work. The parent shouldn't be usurped. And I think that's what that law got to.
Okay, there's a lot to discuss with you. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but you're up to Benton County right now, right?
Yeah, going to Benton County to see the Republicans at their golf outing, and look forward to being around again.
Okay.
For all people.
Attorney General Todd Rokita, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
Have a good afternoon.